Because he was 30 years old, still single and without money, he decided to commit suicide on Children's Day. He stuffed many sleeping pills into his mouth, and then gulped down tap water in large mouthfuls. After more than 10 minutes, his consciousness began to fade, and then he collapsed on the apartment floor. But fortunately, the landlord arrived in time, and this suicide attempt once again ended in failure. He was sent to the hospital for emergency treatment, and after the treatment ended, he regained consciousness. However, the people in the ward looked at him with strange expressions. Sangman turned his head and found an uncle smoking next to him, but strangely, the people here seemed unable to see the uncle. The nurse walked directly towards Sangman and took the cigarette from his hand.
변인 거 모르세요?
He was somewhat baffled, wondering why the uncle's cigarette was in his hand. Before he could figure it out, he was sent to the psychiatry department. The doctor asked him why he attempted suicide, and he replied that it was nothing. He just didn't want to live anymore. The doctor wanted to ask more, but suddenly a woman's crying sound came from the office cabinet. He walked over and opened the cabinet, and surprisingly, a middle-aged ant was curled up inside. Seeing the ant crying continuously, Sangman asked the doctor why he locked someone in the cabinet, but in the doctor's view, there was no one in the cabinet at all. He was diagnosed on the spot with mental issues, and then he was pulled away by the nurse to prepare for hospitalization. Late at night, Sangman went to the toilet, but saw a strange old man squatting at the nurse station. That old man was peeping at a nurse. After being discovered by Sangman, the old man's head swelled up like a balloon. He was so scared that he turned and ran, and after hiding in the ward, he found that these 3 people were floating in the air. The 3 admitted that they were not alive, and also stated that they would borrow Sangman's body from now on.
피곤하네.
The next day after waking up, not only had those 3 not left, but there was also a little boy beside them. And just like yesterday, the doctors and nurses here couldn't see them. At this moment, Sangman finally understood that those who truly seek death can indeed see souls. A few days later, Sangman was discharged from the hospital, but those 4 souls still followed him. No matter where Sangman went, they stuck to him all the time, and under the entanglement of the 4 souls, Sangman's life became more painful than ever. The old man used his body to drink alcohol, and could drink more than 20 bottles in a day. Every time he got drunk, the old man would urinate freely on the balcony.
돌았나 보지게? 뭐 어딜 넘봐!
That uncle borrowed his body to smoke, and in just one day, he could smoke hundreds of cigarettes. The little boy used his body to eat snacks, all of which were high-calorie foods. The crying ant rarely borrowed his body, but the ant had a habit. Every morning when he woke up, Sangman would find the ant lying next to him, staring at him.
뭐야. 잠도 자요?
The 4 of them tormented him both physically and mentally, and after a period of time, his body finally broke down. He didn't understand why these 4 strange souls had targeted him. His life was already bitter enough. Why did even they have to disturb him?
당신들은 제사상 차려주는 사람들도 없어? 왜 나한테 와서 이래? 내가 우스워? 재수없어 진짜!
He went to a fortune teller master and asked the master how to send the 4 souls away. The master told him that as long as he fulfilled the souls' wishes, they would willingly disappear from the world. So Sangman returned home and asked what the 4 souls' wishes were. The first to speak was the old man, who said he wanted to find a camera. Sangman took the old man to look for the camera, but after wandering in the mall for a long time, the old man said it wasn't the one from when he was alive. He asked the old man to give a hint, and the old man replied that the camera was in the hands of an old policeman. Sangman complained why the old man didn't say so earlier, but the old man said that as long as the living don't ask, the deceased cannot voluntarily reveal information. He and the old man went to the police station to get the camera, but that old policeman didn't acknowledge it. The old policeman didn't want to return the camera, and even found an excuse to detain Sangman at the police station. But fortunately, the old man knew the old policeman from when he was alive, and also knew many of the old policeman's embarrassing little secrets. Under the old man's verbal reminders, the old policeman finally returned the camera. Actually, the camera's owner was the old man's old friend from when he was alive, and the old man wanted to return the found camera to him.
이봐, 판소!
Perhaps because his own time was short, the old friend knew that the young man before him was the embodiment of his old friend. The old friend and Sangman ate together in the cafeteria, chatting and reminiscing. Just as they were catching up, a nurse came over and told them to rest. Sangman turned his head to look, and what met his eyes was Nurse Yansu's gentle smiling face. And at this moment, Sangman, who had been single for 30 years, felt a heart throb. His silly and foolish appearance was noticed by the old man, and the old man immediately decided to help him. The old man possessed Sangman's body and started flirting in a comical and bold way.
아까부터 자꾸 이쪽 쳐다보시던데. 나 보는 거요? 아니면 저 늙은 환자 보는 거요?
As expected, the flirting ended in failure, but fortunately, Sangman successfully helped the old man return the camera. The second wish was the little boy's. The boy's wish was to go to the cinema to watch an animated movie. Sangman took the boy to the cinema, and here he encountered Nurse Yansu again. Yansu also had a child with her, who was a seriously ill patient from the nursing home. Sangman originally wanted to communicate with Yansu normally, but the little boy inopportunely possessed his body.
저기 요즘은 그런 거 얼마나 해?
네?
10원에 10개 정도 하나?
1,200원에 한 개요.
In the theater, Sangman and the boy watched the animation and laughed together, but in Yansu's eyes from the back row, Sangman in front was smiling alone. After watching the movie, the wish was fulfilled, and Sangman also bought the little boy an animated character toy. Afterwards, he went to a noodle shop to eat noodles, and because of his unique eating style, he attracted the attention of Yansu and the sick boy at the next table. That boy liked Sangman very much, and Sangman also took this opportunity to get Yansu's contact information. The third ghost to fulfill a wish was the uncle, who wanted to find a yellow taxi. With the help of an old car yard owner, they smoothly obtained short-term use of this old car. The uncle used Sangman's body to drive the car, taking Sangman towards the seaside, although he didn't know why the uncle wanted to come to the seaside. After reaching the destination, Sangman remembered that this was his first time seeing the sea. After spending so much time with the uncle, he suddenly became curious about the uncle. He asked the uncle if he had a family, and wouldn't he feel tired after getting married? Living alone is already very tiring. Wouldn't the pressure be even greater after marriage? After listening, the uncle replied that married life is indeed tiring.
가족 때문에 힘들 것 같지만 결국 힘을 보태는 것도 그 사람들이라니까.
After saying that, the uncle took off his clothes and wanted to play in the sea, and also said that swimming in the seawater was also his wish. Sangman refused and said he couldn't swim, but was still possessed by the uncle and rushed into the sea. He struggled continuously in the sea, and the uncle told him with a laugh to bravely face the fear of the seawater. After listening to the uncle's words, Sangman suddenly had a very strange feeling, because this was the first time someone taught him how to swim, and the first time someone taught him how to face difficulties. At this time, Sangman didn't notice that the other three souls had also come to the seaside. The evening sea breeze still carried warmth, and time seemed to slow down at this moment. On this day, Sangman was stopped by a patrolling traffic police officer. After some questioning, the traffic police officer learned that Sangman, who was driving, had no driver's license at all. He was taken to the police station, and the police asked him to contact his immediate family members. However, Sangman fell silent upon hearing this, because he had no relatives in this world. Just when he was at a loss, he suddenly remembered the contact information Yansu had given him. He mustered up the courage to call Yansu, but until late at night, Yansu did not come to the police station to pick him up. He talked to himself alone in the police station, narrating his experience to the air. As an orphan, how could I have any relatives? All holidays from childhood to adulthood, I spent them alone. I grew up in a daze, not earning much money, and no one liked me. My mind is strange. No matter how I try to recall, I can't remember what my family looks like. At every important moment, I took photos to commemorate, but in the photos, there was only me alone. For someone like me with no relatives or friends and no success, Perhaps only by leaving can I find relief. He didn't notice that all these monologues were heard by Yansu, who had arrived. Yansu walked to Sangman's side, as if to comfort him, and sat quietly beside him. On the way back, Yansu told him that he must cherish his life. Your parents gave you a very healthy heart, and you must carry this heart and live well. At this time, they were very close, and both had warm smiles on their faces. Finally, Sangman had to fulfill the crying ant's wish. The ant said she wanted to cook a meal for the person she loves. He asked the ant who the person she loves is, and upon hearing this, the ant started crying again. After crying, the ant suggested that just the 5 of them have a meal, and also asked Sangman to invite Yansu over. After this was decided, Sangman accompanied the ant to the vegetable market. While buying groceries, the ant held onto Sangman's arm, recited recipes, and bought a lot of vegetables.
어머, 이거 미나리죠?
어머, 미나리 너무 좋다. 아줌마, 이거 얼마?
After the food was prepared, Yansu also arrived at his doorstep. Looking at the large table of dishes, Yansu curiously asked if you made all these dishes. The old man immediately possessed Sangman and answered on his behalf, "For the one I love, I am willing to cook every day." He and Yansu ate and chatted, but during the conversation, Sangman's behavior was very strange. When the old man possessed him, Sangman was like an enthusiastic person. When the uncle possessed him, Sangman was like an old-fashioned person. When the little boy possessed him, he became innocent and childish. When the crying ant possessed him, he enthusiastically pushed his best kimbap in front of Yansu. Because of Sangman's frequent state changes, Yansu thought he was an emotionally unstable person, so Yansu said she wanted to go home halfway through the meal. This was also another form of rejection towards Sangman. After Yansu left, Sangman felt endless disappointment in his heart. Yansu was the only person he wanted to get close to, but now he was pushed away by her. He felt that the 4 souls had helped him in a counterproductive way, and also felt that they had no reason to stay here anymore. So, he said to the 4 souls, "You and I are not related, so after your wishes are fulfilled, leave quickly."
소원도 다 들어줬으니까 나는 더 필요 없잖아. 이제 그만들 가줘요.
The next day after waking up, Sangman found that the 4 souls had really left. Left on the table was a box of food made by the crying ant for him. He remembered that period before, when they had lived under the same roof like a family. Although they were all strange souls, with their presence, this home was at least much livelier. No matter how warm the past moments were, those 4 souls were ultimately just strangers to him. He was still alone after all, still living a life without any achievements. When this thought appeared in his heart, his emotions once again sank into depression, so he once again had the thought of ending his life. This time, he chose to attempt to end his life in the car, but when that moment came, a figure suddenly appeared in his mind. He remembered Yansu's smile in the cinema, and Yansu's gentle words on the bus. At this moment, he suddenly realized that as long as he has someone to love in his heart, he gains the courage to continue living. Afterwards, he dressed up carefully and went to the nursing home with the food made by the crying ant. He couldn't say moving words. He just simply wanted to invite Yansu to have lunch together. Sincerity often moves people the most, and this time Yansu did not refuse him. He and Yansu sat together on a bench, and in the lunchbox was the kimbap made by the crying ant. Yansu, while eating the kimbap, suddenly asked him a question. People usually put spinach in kimbap. Why did you put water celery in yours? This question was very ordinary, so Sangman answered subconsciously.
그거 우리 엄마가 미나리가 피에 좋다고 늘 시금치 대신 미나리를 넣었거든요.
우리 상만이는 얼마나 커야 엄마가 팔짱 끼고 장 볼 수 있을까?
Sangman remembered everything, and he finally recalled what his family looked like. He remembered that back then, he and his brother had no money to watch an animated movie, and at that time, his brother promised him that he would definitely take him to watch one in the future.
형이 가면 꼭 보여줄게.
He remembered that back then, his father had changed to a new taxi, and at that time, his father was preparing to take the whole family to the seaside for fun. He remembered that back then, His grandfather specifically borrowed a camera from a good friend for that family trip. That day, they rushed to the seaside full of anticipation, but unfortunately encountered an accident on the way. At that time, his mother used her body to protect Sangman, and at that time, he was the only one in the car who survived. That accident caused damage to his cranium and brain, and he also lost all memories of his family. He ran all the way home from the nursing home, but the house no longer had any trace of his family. Just when he was surrounded by the pain of gaining and then losing, the souls that had originally left returned to his side.
형이냐?
저건 두고 간다.
아빠, 진심이다. 엄마.
At the end of the movie, the whole family stood together by the window, planning to take a family photo. With a click, the light flashed, and Sangman's first photo with his family was captured at this moment. The family members who had already passed away were very happy. They all had upturned corners of their mouths and smiling faces. Only Sangman frowned and pouted, as if he were a child who had suffered grievances for many years. Previously, Sangman did not know that he was never alone. At every important moment in his past life, his family had actually been silently by his side. Afterwards, Sangman also clearly knew that from now on, he was no longer without relatives or friends. There is a group of people accompanying him somewhere, and there is also a new family member in this world who cares about him. The love of those who have passed away has not disappeared, and those left behind will carry this love and continue to move towards the future.